Good evening, every pony and every creature. This is Drada Arcana. Welcome to tonight's stream on Sunday, the 9th of September. It's been a busy, hectic week for me over the last, week. I've been super busy, with life and stuff, so I have a lengthy stream for you guys today, and this one is going to cover a lot of the requested content that I had gotten when I put out the question a long time ago. Just remember that if you want to enter in a chance to win some prizes at the end of the month, whether it be an SR, promo, or UR, make sure to comment and subscribe to the YouTube and follow me on Twitch. If you comment during each of the individual streams for the entire month, you will enter in a random chance to receive one of those rarities for a card. Anyways, guys, tonight I am going to be covering a lot of content, and I am feeling exhausted. I've had kind of a long weekend, and I got a long week ahead. But anyways, guys, Twilight is sitting on my lap to keep me in check for tonight's stream. We do have a lot to cover. So one of the things that has been heavily requested is the score phase, and talking about double problem face-offs and as well as single problem face-offs and kind of the flow of the score phase, something that I had managed to get down pretty well because it's kind of an important phase and you like points. Points! But before we jump into it, I want to touch back a little bit on my previous stream last month. When we were talking about main phase actions and main phase movement, I forgot to mention an action with, on top of the pay 1 to draw, the pay 2 to move, and the regular main phase action. I had forgotten to mention troublemakers. And that's going to be kind of important for this stream, not so much, but just to go back, during the main phase, if you pay 1, you can play a troublemaker face down. That's the thing I forgot at the main phase. Drada forgetting something. What's new? Anyways, guys, don't be like, but Drada, you should have mentioned it last stream. And that's why I'm showing it you now. So no Petradas on this. I did mess up. I apologize. Just wanted to get that off my chest. I'm like, oh, darn, I pulled a no-brainer there. Anyways, let's jump into it. So, the score phase. It's like where the show happens. And it's fireworks and everything because things happen. You're happy. You score points. And you get closer to that 15 point win and whatever, and you're like Trixie and you're firing off fireworks because you're so happy to be in the showbiz. And anyways, I can go on and on and on. So once you enter the score phase, before anything happens when you enter the score phase, there's a priority window. This priority window happens right as you enter into the score phase. So the moment that you choose to go into the score phase, there's a priority window. And as you guys know, anything can happen during a priority window. And during that priority window, your opponent can choose to do certain things. So there's cards like Bait and Switch, Pinkie Pie, in Twilight Sparkle, Bait and Switch, which can easily be used, interdimensional portal, banish it, and then immediately put it back into play, which would replace the problem. Your opponent could do that at this time. You could choose to move something at immediate speed. We'll get more into that a little later. So during this time, during this first priority window, your opponent can do whatever they please at this point in time, and this is right after you enter the score phase. So that's the first thing that happens. There's a lot of priority windows in this game, and knowing where they're at is very important. And I have found that knowing where the priority windows are really helps me understand kind of, what the flow of the game is. And a lot of times, a lot of players have trouble knowing when these windows are. That's why I'm going into each individual one. So we're in the score phase now. We officially just entered the first priority window. If you want to do something during this time, it's your turn. That is fine. If it's your opponent's turn and you want to wait to see if they're going to take advantage of this priority window, but you know that you want to, that's what this window is for. To give you the opportunity to kind of stop your opponent. But just so you know, the moment this priority window passes, what's going to happen is it moves on to the confront step. So the confront step is the big rain boom that we're going to be talking about. So let's get into this. Okay, before we jump into the full confront step, let's talk a little bit about problems. There are various different types of problems in the game. And what we have here are starting problems and regular problems. So your starting problem, at the beginning of the game, you've selected your starting problem. And you've chosen your starting problem. That's the problem you're going to start with. It's obvious. It's a starting problem. Then you have other problems, like Rarity's Worst Nightmare. So going into this, you got your starting problem, and then you have your confront requirement. So like for Rarity's Worst Nightmare, it requires 2 white and 4 wild. And that's very important to note because wild power is interesting. So if you have, let's say, a main, like Capper Dapper Paws flipped with a Staff of Sakanish, which gives him 6 white power. So the way that this gets confused a lot in a lot of score phases is that when you go to confront Rarity's Worst Nightmare, if you have a 6 power generosity friend at Rarity's Worst Nightmare, you will confront that problem. No, it needs to be 6 power. So that means that it's able to contribute its power to 2 white and 4 anything. That's what the wild means. It can be anything. And that's important to know because choosing your problems for your deck is definitely a challenge, but you have to know what your deck can handle. So wild, that's how wild works. But let's say we jump over to something a little different. So these are 2 problems that are a little bit different. And as you can see, you need at least 2 friends to, and I misspelled friends. Oh, no. Don't be like, but Drada, you misspelled friends. And I'm looking at it like, yes, I realize I misspelled that. I apologize. I'm a terrible speller. Get over it. Right, Twilight? They're going to yell at me for misspelling. Anyways, enough with the melodrama. So this is what happens. So cards like the problem with Parasprites, which requires 4 blue and 3 non-blue. So the way this works is that you need to have a character with at least 4 blue and 3 of something else. However, if you have a multicolor friend, it must contribute its power as far as its color. So let's say it's a blue-green or blue-yellow, green, magic terms. Forget it. Drada's losing his mind, folks. Blue-yellow. You must choose either the blue or the yellow to use to confront that problem. And so let's say you wanted to try to confront problem with Parasprites, and you wanted to use your, let's say, Shoe Shine. which has enough power counters on it to confront that problem. Let's say it has 7 power. Well, you can't contribute the yellow to the non-blue. You have to choose the blue or the yellow. That means that you would have to have another friend with either blue or another color to confront problem with Parasprites. However, with Save the Day, it would require yellow and blue. Once again, if you have Shoeshine in play that has the ability to confront Save the Day, which is a blue-yellow friend, and it has enough power to confront either that yellow or blue, it can only select either blue or yellow, which means you would still need another friend in order to confront Save the Day. And that's kind of how these problems work. So, like I had said before, with wild power, it can be anything. You could have a character that's a white-orange character with 6 power. As long as it has 6 power, it can confront Rarity's worst nightmare. You don't need something else. But in the case of some of these problems, you have to have at least 2 friends with enough power to confront each of the different portions of the problem. And what happens is that sometimes people get hooked up on the fact that, well, can I just use one friend to confront Save the Day? Well, no, you can't. It's like, so that's just the rules on it. You can't use a multi-colored friend. It has to contribute one of its power, one of its color power. Because it essentially, at the top of the card, it says 2 or 3 blue, yellow. And the reason why that has those 2 colors up there separated is so you choose one of those at the top of the power to distribute between the problems. So that's just something to keep in mind when you move the score phase. Sometimes you need to decide when moving the score phase is important. Now I'm going to talk about a couple other things that are important during the score phase. So things like Save the Day. When you confront the problem Save the Day, you score an additional point. So the way that works is you confront the problem, you score a point. Then you'll score another point just for confronting that problem. And the way that confront works is that you'll score the point during the pre-priority processing. And I'll get into that a little later. So here's a couple other things to keep in mind during the score phase is these 2 cards. There's other cards like them, like Rarity, Truly Outrageous, but things like Trihorn Bunyip and Night Glider Overpowering, and I'll get into them here in a moment, or a little later actually. I will be getting more in depth into these. But Trihorn Bunyip and Night Glider Overpowering are additional ways for you to score during the score phase. So different cards activate at different times during the score phase. Trihorn Bunyip will activate after the pre-priority processing when you confront that problem. Night Glider Overpowering happens during the problem face-off, and we'll be getting into the problem face-off in a little bit. So you got 2 problems in play generally. You got problem A and problem B. And I'm going to go into the steps that are during each of these 2 problems. So let's say these 2 problems are in play. You got problem A and problem B. It's your turn. Let's say so what happens is that after the priority step, after that priority window, now comes problem A and problem B. Now, whether or not problem A is your opponent's problem or your problem, we're just going to assume, for the sake of simpleness, that problem A is the problem you wish to confront. I know one thing, Twilight totally wants to confront it because she wants to be able to unlock her beautiful castle. Meanwhile, probably Spike wants to save the day so he can finish his comic book series. Huh? Did you see what I did there? Huh? Anyone? No? Okay. Well, anyways, problem A. Let's say we're going to go for problem A first. Under lock and tree. So let's say you are able to confront problem A. You move to confront problem A. Let's say you have a Tri-Horn Bunyip there. Great. You have a Tri-Horn Bunyip there, you confront the problem. Next thing that happens is a priority window. So the way priority windows work is first there is something called pre-priority processing. Well, you just confronted problem A. Pre-priority processing kicks in. Nothing happens because problem A doesn't have a special ability. Moving to priority window. After the pre-priority processing, now you can frighten that Tri-Horn Bunyip to score an additional point. But it's only during this priority window. And because it's your turn, you get to activate Tri-Horn Bunyip before your opponent can do anything. Alright. Sorry, need a little water there. Okay. So, now, here's the really interesting thing. So now that we confronted problem A, and you frighten your Tri-Horn Bunyip, let's say your opponent chooses to do nothing. Now it opens up to other things you might want to do during this priority step. You could play a Rainbow Dash and First Mate Mullet. What this would do is it has hasty, so it's an immediate, and you can move two of your characters. And you could play this to the other problem and move characters over there. Or you could use Shoeshine's ability to retire a friend to move Shoeshine over to the other problem. So this is called immediate speed. Now, during this time, you have to use these abilities because there's only one priority window between problem A and problem B. This is what allows you to DFO with a single card. Now, you're probably wondering, but Drada, don't I only get one move during the priority step? And the answer to that is no. As long as you have an immediate, and as long as you want to do an action during the priority step at immediate speed, there is no limit on how much you can do something during a priority window. And that's why during the score phase, blue aggro is so dominant during the score phase. This is where blue really shines, as in the score phase. So, and this is why, a lot of people are like, well, wait a minute, I don't understand, how are you, doing all this? Well, it's because during that priority window, in between me confronting problems, which there's only one of, but I can do anything at immediate speed, as long as I can perform that action. So, with Shoeshine, what makes Shoeshine so good during this phase is that as long as I have a critter to retire, I can retire a critter, move Shoeshine home, retire another critter, move Shoeshine to the problem. All of a sudden, Shoeshine's got 3 power. Or I can retire another critter, move her again, and I can do all this infinitely, as much as I want during this priority window of the score phase. And that's something that maybe more experienced players would know about, but I'm trying to explain also for a lot of newer players to understand that during this time you can do as many things as you are able to do. So that's why immediates are so powerful. So then you move to, now I'm going to talk about something about problem B here that you might want to consider as well. So let's say you finish confronting problem A. we have dilemmas. And what a fitting one. Tyrik's Reign of Terror. If you notice, there's a lot of blue cards in this because a lot of aggro stuff happens during the score phase. Okay. Dilemmas are a unique resource that when they're played in the hand, they're a resource. But once they enter play, they become a dilemma. Well, okay. Well, this makes the score phase a little bit more confusing. So let's say we have Shoeshine in play. And I just confronted problem A. Before I go to problem B, or after I'm done confronting problem B, I could move Shoeshine again, get her to 5 power, and confront Tyrik's Reign of Terror. Well, what does this mean? It means that for as many dilemmas are in play, that is how many additional problems there are. And you do have the ability to confront all the dilemmas as well. So if there's like 2 dilemmas in play, and you got Shoeshine, you just confronted problem A, you confront problem B, well, you can now confront problem C, which is a dilemma. And then you could continue. If there's another dilemma in play, you can confront problem D. And let's say there's a third, because the max I've seen of dilemmas in play is like 4. So there were 6 problems in play at one time in one of my games. All right? That means that we could confront a problem 6 times. Each time you confront a dilemma, that's an additional point. So that's how dilemmas work. They're a little confusing, but they basically allow you to score additional points while providing some benefit on the side. So that's just something to keep in mind. Just because there's usually only 2 problem decks, dilemmas do add an additional aspect where there's more than 2 problems. Well, now we'll get into problem B. So let's say you confronted the dilemma, you confronted problem A. Now we're going to move on to problem B. Before you confront, after you confront problem B, there's another priority window. Now, here's something to keep in mind. Save the Day says when you confront this problem, score a point. But this only applies to the person who owns this problem. So if it's your problem deck that has Save the Day, you will get this benefit. If it's your opponent, they don't get anything. And that's something to keep in mind. So we go ahead and let's say you have Save the Day. You confront Save the Day. Now the priority window kicks in. During the pre-priority processing, Save the Day will cause you to score an additional point during that time. So that means that you're going to score that additional point faster than what anyone else can do. They cannot, once you've been allowed to confront that problem, you cannot, you will not be able to stop someone from scoring from Save the Day. All right, and then the priority window kicks in. Well, fight me! Face-off time! Again, you guys will remember this slide from back in the Troublemaker phase. Fight me. Face-off. Yes. No, seriously, fight me sometime. You might have a blast. The face-off. So instead of going through the long list of the face-off step again, I'm going to ask that you check out the Troublemaker phase. The long and short of it is there's a, right after the face-off starts, there's a priority window. Then you flip a card. And then anything that would allow you to flip an additional card, you flip an additional card. And then you have another priority window. If it's a tie, you flip another card. If someone wins, Well, then there's another priority window. Face-off ends. Real, cut, and dry. That's the setup of the face-off. If you need to know more, remember that I have the troublemaker phase up there. It does cover the face-off stuff. Since it's a lengthy phase, just know that this time it's not a troublemaker face-off, but it's a problem face-off. And this is important. So let's say that you get to the face-off, you win the face-off, right? So someone wins. That's the step before the priority window, before the end of the face-off step. Well, there was a card I showed you guys a little earlier on. Let's see if I can bring it back up here. Nope. Hold on. I gotta find it. Okay. Night Glider overpowering. Night Glider overpowering specifically says when you win a problem face-off involving this card by at least 5 points, by 5 power, score 2 points. Because it's a problem face-off and not a troublemaker face-off, because it's a problem face-off, during the priority window, after the winning of the face-off. So you win the face-off. You win it by 5. Night Glider overpowering will kick in at the pre-priority processing of the priority window between the end of the face-off and the end of the face-off. Well, no, between the winner and the end of the face-off. That is when Night Glider will trigger. It'll trigger during the pre-priority processing, which means the game is forcing it to score 2 points. So let's get back there. Okay, so after we... Hold on. So after the face-off and stuff, let's say you confronted 2 problems or you confronted 3 problems, you won the face-off with Night Glider. You're probably Princess Luna right now. You're telling Drada, dance with me! And I'm like, and Drada's like, oh no, not again, Luna. So Luna's having a blast, you know, partying because she just scored a whole bunch of points. And Drada's like, oh no, they just did a double problem face-off or multi... Okay, so let me go back a little bit. There is a difference between a double problem face-off and a multi-problem face-off. Multi-problem face-off is basically 2 or more problems, or sorry, 3 or more problems. Double problem face-off is only 2 problems. But in the end, for the sake and purposes, they're all just multi-problem face-offs now, because you're confronting more than 1 problem, so it's multiple. So the term regularly accepted now is actually multi-problem face-off, not double. But generally speaking, there's a double problem face-off and multi-problem face-offs. But there's very little difference between the 2. Okay, so you just scored a whole bunch of points. The face-off is over. The problem face-off has ended. Well, you know what? It's not over yet, folks. Just because you won the problem face-off, the score phase is still continuing. I bet you didn't know that. Or maybe you did if you're an expert player. But the face-off, after the problem face-off, there are more steps that you need to go through. So, what are the other steps added in? And this is why the score phase is probably the most confusing of all the different phases, because it's so lengthy. And this is why back in the troublemaker phase I did go over the face-off stuff. Okay, after you win the face-off, there's another priority window. This is your chance to do something after the problem face-off. So you can either replace the problems or whatever. But nothing has happened, but there is an opportunity for you to do something. However, by this point, your opponent has already scored the bonuses for the problem face-off, and they have already scored their points for confronting. But just remember that during this time, triggers like shoe shine and stuff now will activate. Shoe shine allows you to put a critter into play after a problem face-off that you win. So that means that critter token now comes into play. That does not mean, and this is something that hooked me up for a little while, but shoe shine's ability, that critter can go to play at the problem, but it's just going to get sent home because it's during this time that things like that will activate. But there is this priority window before the problem's replaced, and it's the least used priority window, in my opinion. But there is a priority window, so just keep that in mind. And then we move to actually solving problems. Now this can be a little hard to read, but it says the first step after a problem where a problem face-off happens, whether that's a double problem face-off, single problem face-off, which I will be talking about single problem face-offs a little later. They're a little easier to go over. But, so what will happen is the problems will become resolved. Now, no, you can't do anything until all these steps are complete. The problem face-offs are resolved and become solved. They are now solved. But anything that says that a problem, when this problem becomes solved, things like unreasonable demands, which it says when this problem becomes solved, you may banish a friend. You cannot do it yet because the game has to go through its processes. First, the problems become solved. Then you replace any of the problems which are solved. That includes dilemmas and everything. And as the problems are being replaced, any characters at any problem, any dilemma, are immediately sent home. Troublemakers are then dismissed. Not retired, dismissed by the game. And any resources that are attached to a problem are also dismissed by the game. All these dismissals and movement and being sent and stuff is done by the game, which means that it is faster than anything anyone can actually do. So in order to replace a problem, you put it on the bottom of its owner's problem deck and put the top card of its owner's problem deck into play in that area. That means that you just flip over the top card of your problem deck and you put it into play. So those are the steps. Now, you might be like, but Drada, what about things like unreasonable demands and things that happen like day shift where I move a character to a problem when it enters play or whatever? Well, guys, we will get into that. First, I want to go back a little bit and talk about something very important, about double problem face-offs. Look at these two problems, Save the Day and Problem with Parasprites. Problem with Parasprites has 3 points and Save the Day has 1 point. Anytime you have a multi-problem face-off, whether it be double problem face-off or multi-problem face-off, the person who wins the face-off in those multi-problem face-offs will receive the bonus of the problem. That doesn't mean that you get 1 point and 3. That doesn't mean you score 4. You score the highest number of points among problems in play. Or problem/dilemmas. I'm just going to keep doing that so that way people understand that if a dilemma has the highest point value, then you would score that. But not anything else. Just because there are 5 dilemmas in play and 2 problems does not mean you score each and every single one of the bonuses. You just score the bonus of the problem that has the highest bonus. Now, something to keep in mind that had changed with the rules, and this question gets asked a lot. Well, if I'm the first person to confront that problem, don't I score the bonus? The answer is no. You will not score the bonus. So, when you score said bonus, you always score the highest number amongst all the problems. So that's just something to keep in mind before you move to the score phase. Can I get the highest bonus, and is it going to help me win the game? All right. There's still a lot more to cover. Not too much more, I promise. All right. Remember how I said something about single problem face-offs? Well, single problem face-offs work like this. If you confronting and your opponent is confronting that problem, then what will happen is that, and as long as all the other problems, dilemmas, or whatever are not, as long as you're not confronting, as long as you, the turn player, is confronting a problem, and it's only one, and your opponent is also confronting that same problem, we get a single problem face-off. What this does is that you go through the regular face-off step, and the winner of the face-off will score the bonus of that problem. However, what will happen is that only that problem will be replaced. So any dilemmas in play, any other problems, they will not be replaced. They will still remain there. And the single problem face-off will only replace that problem. So this is something to keep in mind too. Sometimes when your opponent is at a problem and you can't stop them maybe from DFOing, maybe causing a single problem face-off that turn might help you prevent them from DFOing or whatever. But single problem face-offs still have their uses, despite the fact most people in today's world will try to go for the multi-problem face-off rather than the single problem face-off. But the single problem face-off is a way of making sure that you can get to another problem or whatever. So that's just something else I wanted to touch on. So going back to this. So we just replaced all the problems and stuff. And remember how I was talking about unreasonable demands that triggers during the problem replacement are things like day shift, which trigger when a problem enters play? Well, now we have that priority window. Pre-priority processing kicks in, which will cause things like unreasonable demands and anything else that is a problem that has its ability that when it becomes solved or is replaced. Now, something to keep in mind too is that if there are 2 dilemmas in play and 2 problems, but you only confronted the 2 problems, and the dilemma says that when this card becomes solved, do this. Well, that will trigger, because just because you didn't confront all the dilemmas doesn't mean that those problems don't become solved. Anytime you do a double problem face-off or a multi-problem face-off, you will cause all dilemmas, all problems to become solved. Now, there are problems that are in the game or dilemmas in the game, like Friendship Festival setup, that when it's replaced, put 5 Earth Pony tokens in play. This will trigger during the pre-priority processing of the priority step after the new problems come into play, which means that you can place all 5 of those Earth Pony tokens at any of the new problems. That does not mean that they can be played to home, that they can only go home. They can be played to each of the problems, because it is during this time that the dilemmas and the problems actually resolve their solved abilities or replaced abilities. After the pre-priority processing, day shift kicks in, which is why it's why cards like Nightmare Night, What a Fright, which will trigger before day shift. So Nightmare Night, What a Fright will actually frighten day shift before day shift has the ability to move a character to both problems that were just entered play. Because Nightmare Night, What a Fright occurs during the pre-priority processing. And day shift triggers during the priority step. Which means Nightmare Night, What a Fright is typically faster than day shift. Alright. That's a lot of information. But after this priority window of when things trigger and you're all done with your cleanup step, moving things back to the problems if you have to, or whatever, guess what happens? That's it! It's the end of the score phase! Congrats, everyone! Drata just finished the score phase! Oh man, that was a ton of info! Okay. Alright, that's a lot of info that I just threw out to you guys. And it's a complicated phase. It's very in-depth and detailed. I can understand why a lot of newer players have a lot of trouble understanding what happens during this phase. It is a complicated phase. And Twilight is looking at me like, wow, you actually stuck to your guns and actually didn't go off on a sidetrack. Squirrel! Anyways, besides the squirrel comment, no Buttrata comments either. No, you can say Buttrata. I just will always say no Buttratas. Anyways, that's a long and a lot of information. And very complicated information. So I don't mind if you guys share this out, because this is a very complicated phase. It's like the troublemaker phase. It's very complicated. Once again, I will be combining these streams amongst everything. And I will make sure to, record down everyone's names who's been commenting. And I will be checking to make sure that they are either following me on Twitch or subscribe to YouTube. Please do both. It just makes it easier for me. No Buttratas. Just remember that. As always, guys, this is a complicated game, but once you get down the ropes and stuff, it's actually pretty simple. So, yeah. A lot of this I kind of threw at you guys, and I was trying to do it, kind of tired. Luna's looking at me and drawing me in to go to bed, and I'm like, not yet, Luna, not yet. I can't make it there yet. Don't hate the Alicorn OC either. Notice that I have kind of like my OC has kind of an love for Luna, I'd like to say. That'll be a story for another time, though. As we all know, that is Best Princess. I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for that, but I don't know. But anyways, the score phase is definitely one where you see a lot more action in it if you're playing against something like blue-yellow aggro, blue aggro, or something like that. You're not going to see a whole lot of action if you're not playing against um, if you're not playing against things like either control or combo necessarily. You're not going to see a lot of action during the score phase. But blue-yellow you will see a lot of action with and stuff. And this will really help if you're trying to play aggro. Because aggro wants to move around during the score phase so you can DFO with as few characters as possible. So, anyways, guys, that's pretty much it for the score phase. If I missed something, I probably didn't this time, which would be a miracle that Drata didn't actually miss something. If you guys, if anyone who has more experience than me thinks that I missed something, please feel free to comment. Leave comments on the Reddit of the announcement or whatever. I will have these uploaded soon, probably before tomorrow. But anyway, so a little bit more information about what's going to be happening next week is we'll be going over the end phase. And because of the shortness of the end phase, I will be accepting up to 1 to 2 deck submittals. If you want your deck to be reviewed, or you want to have me look at your deck and tell you what I think, please submit me on the post of the next stream. When it goes out, it'll go out Wednesday. On that post, leave the deck you wish to submit, and make sure it's through Ponyhead. Make sure you build it on Ponyhead, and that's where you should leave it. Also, I had a question this week about, let's say I missed the stream, but I watched it and I wanted to comment. If you comment to either the Reddit post of that announcement for that stream, it has to be for that stream, you can receive credit for entering in the chance to get a UR, SR, or promo at the end of the month. As long as you make a comment on that stream's announcement, I will be checking those. And so that's just something that came at me kind of this week. And I want to let you guys know that you will receive credit if you comment, as long as you're participating on that stream and you're subscribed and you're following me. All in all, I had a good time tonight. It definitely was a lot of information. So I'm going to get out of here. As always, guys, no Butradas, and give your love to Twilight, or give your love to Princess Luna. Luna helps you sleep at night. Twilight's just a bookworm, but she's lovable. Or give your love to whatever pony you want. And I hope to see you guys next week as we talk about the end phase and maybe go into some deck submittals. See you guys next time.